My name's Mike Royal. I'm General Secretary of Churches Together in England. I've been in role now a couple of years, and I'm going to very quickly share some of what I see happening, not only from the panoramic perspective that you get as being General Secretary of Churches Together in England, which has 54 denominations that relate into us and seek to work together in unity. And what I would just say at the start of my talk is that I see incredible growth both in independent and denominational intercultural church congregations, particularly in the area of Pentecostalism. But I also want to say that the other huge growth area is of our Orthodox churches as well. Last year, round about this time, I had the privilege of being at Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church in London, just off Bond Street. And I was speaking to Bishop Kenneth, who pastors that church, the senior bishop there, and he was telling me about their service at the Easter before. And he said, we had Easter service. He said 15,000 people turned up. The police had to shut the road. There is not a church here where 15,000 people would turn up. But what we're dealing with there in the Ukrainian community, and of course, we think of the ongoing Ukrainian-Russian war, what we're dealing with is a society that's not post-Christian. And so many of our intercultural churches are not post-Christian communities. They very much are vibrant Christian communities. I know Dr. Harvey Kwani is here, but a couple of years ago, I remember him speaking at a Churches Together England event, and he said three things. He said in London, at any time, 60% of London Christians in church on a typical Sunday morning are black. He said that there are more black Christians in the world than white, and he said, which was a surprise to me, but completely makes sense, that as a first language, Spanish, particularly spoken in a Latin American context, is the most commonly used language by Christians as a first language in the world. And we have this growth of intercultural churches, Christians coming from the global majority world, from Africa, from South Asia, from East Asia, from Latin America, and of course, from Eastern Europe as well. Some are coming to fill skills gaps in social care, in health, and in education, coming by completely legal routes. Some are coming as students. Our universities depend on students coming from all over the globe. Some are coming as political migrants and refugees and asylum seekers. Some are coming sent by their church to do reverse mission. They have been called to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ from the global south, from the global east to the west. But most, if not all, are bringing their vibrant Christian faith with them for whatever are the push and pull factors that bring them to these shores. And of course, when they come and they're part of congregations or plant congregations, they are navigating their own cultural heritage in a Western context. And so it's so important that there is an interrelationship built between those churches and the existing churches that are in our towns and our cities as well. And for me, particularly in this week of prayer for Christian unity, which we've just entered into in the last couple of days, it's really important that those relationships are being built. These churches, these intercultural churches, are stemming church decline. And they are doing some incredible stuff. I was listening to an interview on Sunday morning, including Reverend Israel Olifinjana from EA, and he's here today. But also they were interviewing Pastor Akin Abinola, and he said this when he thought about intercultural churches. He said 2 words, he said, salt and light. Salt to bring preservation, flavor, diversity, transformation. Light to bring guidance, solutions, and relationships. I really liked that as a positive view of what these churches bring. But I want to also just highlight a couple of challenges that these churches face. Firstly, there's a challenge of church buildings. Many of our towns and cities now, there is a situation where there are shared buildings, sometimes congregations sharing, 4 or 5 congregations sharing a building. And it's important that those shared facilities, that those congregations are not functioning in silos or in parallel, but rather are actually mixing. I remember about a year ago, maybe a couple of years ago, someone came to me and said, we're in Wolverhampton, we've got 5 congregations who are using our building. I think it was a URC church. And he said, but we just can't get them to work together. What shall I do? And we had a conversation over a coffee. And I saw the guy about 18 months later, and he skipped up to me. And he said, hey, do you know that conversation we had about bringing everyone together? We are now meeting together periodically. And it's just been wonderful to see how those churches have come together and are working together and building understanding in their community. The disposal of buildings is a challenge, particularly when the historic churches are disposing of buildings and often looking for perhaps the highest price, when actually there can be churches and congregations who would need those churches but perhaps can't pay those prices. And those are certainly a conversation that we are curating in churches together in England. Right now, I am supporting, I have some Episcopal responsibility within the Midlands in my own denomination, which is the Apostolic Pastoral Congress. And nearly all of our congregations are global majority congregations seeking ecumenical relationships within towns and cities. And I'm supporting a church that's called the Village Fellowship. It's just being planted actually in Walsall. And it's really interesting that the big kind of thing for us there is immigration. We're actually providing immigration services and advice to communities who are in need are really important. And the Bishop Des Jadu, who leads that, he's Indian Jamaican. He has helped to write a book called A Windrush Story, which actually tells the story of a particular person who came from the Caribbean and had all kinds of problems. But actually meeting those needs has been really important for us, as well as the social needs that we find. Immigration status, yes, but the importance of eating together, having food banks and food pantries, of course, really important. Some of the educational needs of the children, the health needs, the challenges of poor housing. These are all issues that we are seeking to deal with in an advocacy way as we work kind of with these churches. But what I want to finish on is the benefit I think these churches bring. Actually, they have incredible high levels of social capital. They are grassroots churches in touch with the everyday needs of their community. And I think in a post-Christian, secularized society, they are a preserving salt in our communities in terms of a Christian presence. And so I want to encourage us to embrace these vibrant, spirit-filled churches that are being planted in our towns and our cities, and build intercultural relationships with them so that they become embedded and immersed in all that God is doing. And if I can just quickly at the end of my talk, just wave a book around. One of the contributors is my colleague who's here today, Ben Aldous, called Intercultural Church. But from Grove Publishing, I'd encourage you to read that as well. There are some great case studies in that book. Thank you for listening. God bless you. I've got to get down the road to Nottingham to consecrate a Polish bishop in the Lutheran Church. God bless you.